All right, guys, so this has been the thing. I've been asked to do it for quite a long time, so here it is. Draco Invictus cooks. That's right, and you will not have to worry about dying from dysentery after this meal. So I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently. I'm not going to be using a lot of pans and pots. Matter of fact, one casserole dish and a cookie sheet. That's about it. I know, sounds weird. And I am going to be preparing these beautiful, make sure they don't slide off, beautiful ribeye steaks. And I'm going to be making smashed potato casserole. It's going to be a loaded smashed potato casserole. I'm going to be using about 2.5 pounds of red potatoes. And all of it is going to be done sous vide. Now, real quickly, let me explain what sous vide is. Let me grab this over here. This is a water circulator. And I'm hoping that you can see it just fine. This is an Innova Nano, and it is brand new. I haven't even taken the plastic off of it yet. This will also be my very first experiment cooking sous vide. So you guys are coming along with me. So basically what this does is I set it at a temperature, and I put it into this bucket that's filled with water, and it slowly brings the temperature of the water up to whatever temperature I set. Well, I like my steak medium rare. And to cook a medium rare, the center of a medium rare steak should be between 129 and 131 degrees Fahrenheit. So if I set this for 130 degrees and I take my steak and drop it in there, well, I wouldn't do that. Because the other part that we have to do is we have to vacuum seal our food. I have to make a bag for the potatoes, and then I have individual bags for each of the steaks. And why am I doing individual bags for each of the steaks? Well, because 2 people in this household like their steaks a little bit more done than medium rare. So I'm actually going to be cooking at 3 different cooking temperatures, well, 4 counting the potatoes. And so I want each steak to be absolutely perfect all the way through. So once I seal the steak in the bag, then the bags go in the water. So I'm going to start with the steak that's going to be most well done, a medium well, and because that is the highest cooking temperature. I'm going to cook that steak all the way through. It'll be perfect from end to end, tip to tip, all the way through the perfect temperature. Then I'm going to drop the temperature down. After that steak is done, I'm going to put the second steak in that's going to be a medium. It's going to cook. The other steak that's already at its perfect temperature can stay in the water, so it stays nice and hot. Then finally, the final 2 steaks will be done medium rare, both in individual bags. They go in. It's going to be about a 3-hour process to cook all those steaks in this water bath. The potatoes alone at 185 to 190 degrees are going to take over an hour to cook in a vacuum sealed bag. Now, why am I doing this? Well, for one, the steaks are going to be even more tender than they normally are. A ribeye is a very tender piece of steak. It has nice marbling and nice fat that all lends to that tenderness. Now I'm trapping all of that flavor and tenderness in this bag. And when they come out, they're not going to look very appetizing. That's where the cookie sheet is actually going to come into play for the cooking process. I have a small grate that I'm going to put over the top of the cookie sheet, put all the steaks, much like they're arranged right now, on the grate, and I'm going to turn the broiler on for the oven, turn it on high, and I'm going to put the steaks underneath the broiler, right underneath the broiler. It's going to be about a minute per side, and they will come out perfect. The smashed potato casserole, once the potatoes are all cooked, I put them into a casserole dish, spread some shredded cheese on the top. It also goes right underneath the broiler, just long enough to brown up that cheese, get it all melted all over the top, and then it'll be ready to serve. I'm actually filming this portion of the video on Saturday. We won't be actually cooking until Sunday. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to season up these steaks. I'm going to get them all ready, get them sealed, and I'm going to put them back in the refrigerator and just let them have a whole day to kind of marinate with the salt and the pepper and of course the garlic powder. That is all I use on my steaks, whether I'm grilling, broiling, or even sous vide. Salt, pepper, garlic powder, that's it. So, few seasonings, and we're going to wrap this thing up. But I wanted to kind of walk you through the process of seasoning the steaks, sealing them in the bags, using the brand new vacuum sealer that I just purchased. And we are going to prep all of this stuff. And of course, for you guys, it's going to be a quick transition to tomorrow when we're actually doing the cooking. And I'll videotape all of that stuff and explain it all to you then. So guys, stick around. I'm going to get these steaks prepped. Be right back. All right, guys, so here we are at my steak station. These are beautiful ribeye steaks, and I mean, they're not the thickest cut. They're about almost an inch thick. I didn't go with the cowboy cut or anything like that, but we're just gonna season these up really quickly before we get them vacuum sealed. So again, I'm just going with a Mediterranean sea salt in a grinder, and we'll get started giving these steaks a nice coat of salt. Don't worry, the steaks are only going to absorb exactly what they can. And we're going to pat these dry when they come out of the sous vide before we sear them off. So we'll take care of anything extra. This salt is just going to really enhance this flavor. Now before we flip them over, I'm going to go ahead and apply my pepper. And some people in this house don't like pepper as much as I do, but that's all right. And the reason why I'm doing this, guys, is my buddy Sean. This is his house. And they bought this house in April. And he spent a couple days here after they signed the paperwork. And then he's been living out in California, in San Diego, trying to sell their house out there. Well, he comes home tomorrow. He comes home on Sunday. He's done his time out in California, and matter of fact, he is on the road right now, driving out here. And so I wanted to do something very nice for him. Him and my cousin, who he's married to, they have been very gracious with me and allowing me to stay in their home. And so I wanted to do something very nice. So we've got our pepper, and again, I'm going to season both sides. And I absolutely believe that every steak should get lots of garlic powder. It's almost impossible to use too much garlic, especially on a steak. And I have been cooking my steaks like this for a very long time. I've never done it sous vide, but this is how I prep my steaks. And so let me grab some tongs over here. We'll get these flipped over so we can season the other side. There we go. Nice coarse grind is better than a fine grind, especially for steaks. And this is very, freshly ground pepper is much more fragrant than pepper that's already been ground, been sitting around for a while. So you don't need as much to get the same effect. And this is a peppercorn medley, so you're gonna get a lot of different hints of different flavors in with this pepper. So just give it a nice light coat of the pepper. And then we'll add in some more garlic powder on here. And I would say that ribeye may be my favorite cut of steak. I haven't had many porterhouses in my life. I've had a few. But ribeye is definitely in my top 2 or 3. And I don't count prime rib as a steak because prime rib is actually a rib roast. So I don't count that as steak. Otherwise it'd be a very hard decision to have my top steak. Okay, so these are done. These are ready to go. Now normally if I were cooking them on a grill or in a pan or something like that, I would just leave them like this. If I was cooking in a pan, maybe some garlic, throw in, maybe a couple herbs or something like that. But as far as this goes, these are ready to go. So let me grab a bag here. We're gonna go ahead. And what I've learned is that to keep this edge clean for sealing, you just roll the bag in on itself like that, or out on itself like that. So then when you're ready to seal, you just flip it back over and you have a nice clean edge so that you get a good seal. Because the one thing you do not want to do for a steak that's going to be cooking in hot water for an hour plus is let water get in there. That'll absolutely ruin the steak. So let's go ahead and grab our first steak here, and we're just going to kind of slide it right in the bag. Now we want to make sure that the steak is laying flat. Okay, we don't want it curling up on itself. We want all of its surface area to be exposed to the hot water in the sous vide. So that's perfect. Let's go ahead and bag up the other ones. Notice I didn't put any oil in here, especially with a ribeye. As this fat starts to render down, it's going to develop this wonderful, juicy juice inside the bag, and it's really, really going to just enhance the flavor of these steaks. Getting our bag rolled over. Actually, I don't quite fit that way. I don't want it to be too smashed. So there we go. All right, here's our last bag for our last steak. That bad boy dropped down in there, and we are good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and move the camera, and we'll do the vacuum sealing, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, catch you in a second. All right, guys, so here we are, vacuum sealer. As you can see, I haven't even removed the little film or anything like that. This thing is still brand spanking new. And first off, let me apologize real quick if the audio isn't quite as good. Of course, once I get this back onto my computer, I'll be able to listen to the audio, make some adjustments, and hopefully it picks back up. If not, I'll be narrating over the top of it. But we've got our steaks. I rolled the edges back up, as you can see. And now we're just going to open this thing up, and we have to make sure that the bag gets down in this groove. Just like that. Okay, we know that that's going to reach down there. We're going to close this thing, and we're going to hit vac seal. And I have it set on normal mode versus gentle mode. These are steaks. I'm not worried about bruising them. No, that did not get me nearly what I wanted to. So it sealed it, but it did not get out. I didn't have it clamped down all the way. So I can fix this. Alright guys, this is going to take a little while. So I'm going to go ahead and cut to after I get them all sealed up, and I'll show you guys the final product. Alright. Alright guys, I was going to knock all these out really quick. As you can see, got this one packed, ready to go. But I realized I was doing something wrong because I wasn't very familiar with this machine. this track right here is where the edge of the bag needs to be. This is the vacuumer right here. So if I had it like this, so it was slowly getting some air out, but it wasn't really working very well. So now that I know that the edge of the bag needs to go right in there, I'm going to seal this thing up. Watch this. Wait for it. Little seal light went off. We're good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and knock these out really quick. You see how much faster that goes? Wait for the little seal light to go off. Boom, another steak done. Talk about easy meal prep, huh? Because you could actually par cook steaks and then put them in the fridge and then fire up the sous vide like a couple days later. You know, cook it like this steak, instead of cooking it for an hour, hour and a half, cook it for 45 minutes. Get that internal temperature where you need it to be. And then you could take this bag, leave it still sealed, put it in the fridge, and then 2 days later, fire up the circulator again when you wanted the steak, let it warm back up for a half hour at the same temperature that it was supposed to be, and the steak is perfectly good. So, if you bought a bunch of steaks and knew that you were going to be eating them, or a bunch of chicken breasts or something like that, or chicken thighs will also work really well in sous vide. You could absolutely prep a bunch of them at the same time, store them in the fridge knowing that you're going to get to them over the next couple of days. Anything more than a week, I wouldn't suggest, partially cooking it. But you could seal them, season them, seal them, and put them in the freezer. And if it's a frozen steak that's all sealed and ready to go, then you add an extra half hour to your cook time when you're cooking it sous vide, and it'll be perfect. And there we go. We now have 4 steaks ready to be cooked, fully sealed. You can see like the juices like spreading out inside there. These things are going to be incredible. They're going to be so much more tender than a normal steak would be, because you're not raising the outside temperature of the steak. Because normally you'd cook a steak, whether it's in a pan or on a barbecue, whether it's gas or charcoal, the outside temperature is very hot, 400, 500, 600 degrees sometimes. And that's why when you even get a medium rare steak, it's only a very thin strip in the middle that's medium rare, and then it gets more and more done as you get to the outer edge. With sous vide, the entire thing, from tip to tip, end to end, will all be at the exact temperature that you want it to be for doneness. And then, since we're doing very high heat, very short amount of time under the broiler, it's going to sear off the outer edges, but the inside of the steak, for a vast majority of it, and I'll show you guys when I'm done cooking them, it's going to be so incredible. And because we're not introducing anything else, there's not going to be any water in the bag, there's not going to be any... we're going to get a solid meat flavor in addition to the salt, the pepper, and honestly, you shouldn't taste the salt. If you're tasting salt, you've salted a little bit too much. Salt is supposed to enhance the flavor of the food that you're putting it on. So the steak will be more steaky. Vegetables will have a crisper flavor. That's what salt is supposed to do as far as using it on your food. But yeah, these are ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and throw them back in the fridge because, again, I'm not cooking them until tomorrow. And I'm not going to bother you guys with bagging up these potatoes. I will show them to you when I get ready to cook before I drop them in the water, because these will actually be the first thing that we cook tomorrow. But like I said, this is a 5-pound bag. I'll be cooking about half this bag. skin on, because I like the skins of red potatoes. And I'm going to cut them like into quarters so that it cooks a little bit faster. Otherwise, it'll take almost 2 hours to cook the potatoes if I tried cooking them whole. Well, these are a little bit smaller, maybe not that long. But I want to try and get the potatoes cooked in less than an hour so I can get to the steaks. So that is the plan, is get these done first, then drop in our medium well steak at its temperature. When that's done, drop in the medium steak, and when that's done, drop in the medium rare steaks. All at the right temperature. They will all be cooked perfect for everyone that wants them. This thing is going to be awesome. So for you guys, it's going to be a split second as I transition, and for me, it's going to be almost a full day before I'm back to videotaping this. But I did want to share all of this process with you, and just so you guys know, I'm not trying to kill anyone. These bags are all BPA free, and honestly, they wouldn't be in anything. The whole problem with products that have BPA in them is we tend to store things in them for a long period of time, 4, 5, 7 days, 2 weeks, something like that. And it allows a leaching from the bag over time. Those toxins then get into your food. BPA free means that there is no leaching, stuff, no toxins to go into the bags. But even if an overnight thing, I wouldn't worry about bags that were BPA free. But I do buy all the bags. All these bags that I bought, I have a whole nother box over there. They're all BPA free, just in case I wanted to freeze something or something like that, just to avoid any issues. So I am keeping our health in mind. And I hope you guys are enjoying this, and I will see you guys, well, for you, right about now. All right, guys, so really quickly, a quick update. I'm fixing to put the potatoes into the water, and here it is all sealed up. And basically, it's about 2.5 to 3 pounds of the red potatoes, 4 tablespoons of butter, so half a stick of butter, about 8 ounces of sour cream, and half a block of cream cheese, and that is it. Right now we're currently at 150, almost 156 degrees. This will get up to 194 total, but I'm going to go ahead and get the potatoes in now because they will start cooking. 194 is just the optimum temperature, and I'm going to cook them for about an hour, and we'll see how that goes. And then we will start the cycle of the steaks. So the first steak should go in at about 4:30 or so. So I will get back to that as soon as that's ready to go. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and drop these in the water and start the whole sous vide with the potatoes. Oh, I also did salt and pepper, kind of light on the salt and pepper. I figured taste it after it comes out of the bag, season a little bit more because we are going to be throwing it in the oven with some cheese on top to make a casserole out of it. And I did go pretty good on the garlic powder, simply because I want that to be like totally infused with all the potatoes. So we are going to, since I'm doing this handheld, I can't really set the camera down and put this in the water. Just trust I'm going to be putting this in the water right now. All right, guys, and now I am cooking ice. Yes, no, I'm not cooking ice. The potatoes are pretty much done. They are able to be smashed, so they're still generating a lot of heat. I've got to mix up the bag a little bit, and then what I'm going to do is, since some of these pieces are just a hair thicker and they're going to take a little bit more to smash up, when I get the steaks in here and I put the lid on, I'm going to put this bag of potatoes on top of the lid because the lid's going to stay really, really warm. So then the potatoes will stay warm, and it's going to allow those that are a little bit thicker to soften up a little bit more so that when we finally get it all smashed together, it's going to be the right consistency. So what I'm doing now is I actually have these ice bags in a Ziploc bag, and I'm trying to get the temperature down to 140 degrees because to cook a medium well steak, that's the temperature I need to be at. So if I drop the steak in now, it'll be way overdone, and we don't want to ruin these beautiful ribeyes by overdoing them. So although I think that medium well is being overdone. but yeah, so the temperature is coming down pretty quickly, and yeah, there's no accounting for taste. but yeah, so I've got my rack ready. This Thai steak is going to be the first one. She doesn't like a lot of fat. I should have bought a cheaper cut of steak for her instead of a ribeye, but that's okay. So I went through and I looked through all the ones that didn't have a lot of marbling inside the steaks. This is the one that is going to be best for her. It's a little bit thinner, so I should only have to cook it at her temperature for about 30 minutes. Then I'm going to lower the temperature again and put Sean steak in. Sean steak will be put in at 135, and then his will cook for about 40 minutes or so, and then I will drop the temperature down one more time down to 129, and then I will put the other two steaks in for medium rare, because medium, that's where Sean likes his, and we're going medium rare with ours. So let's check on our temperature again real quick. So yeah, we are dropping, and I'm not going to bore you guys with some like time lapse of the temperature going down and all that stuff. So next time I fire this up, I'll be dropping the steaks in. All right, guys. So here we are. I put my buddy Sean's in. His has been in for the right amount of time, and now I've put in the last two steaks, and because they were in the refrigerator, I dialed this thing down. I set it at the right temperature, and so the steaks are actually cooling off the water, so I don't have to put any like ice or take any of the hot water out, or use the ice bag like I did with the potatoes and stuff like that. So these should get down to temperature here pretty quick, and I just want to make sure that they're all under this water's hot, but it's not that hot. It's only 131 degrees, so it's not like it's scalding or anything like that. But there they are. All four steaks are now in the sous vide, and it's already down 130.6, so it's dropping pretty quickly. And so I'm going to let this all cook for another 45 minutes. All right, guys. So our steaks are done. The timer went off. I'm hoping they're done. Again, remember, this is my first time doing sous vide, so we are going to just deal with it as it comes along. Now, I do have a casserole dish ready to go, and let me show you how the potatoes turned out. So as you can see, they are well smashed. They're still very warm because I kept them on the lid. And so before I take the steaks out, I'm going to go ahead and get this ready. We have scissors. So cut this bag open. And Sean, I know there's going to be lots of comments in the section about people welcoming you home. So,
thank you, everybody.
This looks and smells delicious. It's like a piping bag from hell. Let's get as much as possible. They're all still very warm. Now, before I go throwing this in the oven, I want to give it a little taste. Make sure that my seasoning is good. Don't tell everyone else, but they're not quite done. Yeah. So, probably another 15 minutes for the potatoes. But as far as seasoning goes, I think I want to add a little bit more salt. I know you're thinking, holy cow, that's a lot of salt. No, I'm actually going to stir it up in here. And the cheese is going to add a little saltiness to it as well. So we're not going to be too worried about that. All right. One more little taste. Much better. Ooh. Good on the garlic though. All right. So, potatoes ready. We'll get them smoothed out. So we can sprinkle some cheese on this. And I'm going to be using a sharp cheddar. All right. So, that's ready to go. The broiler's ready to go. Let's go ahead and pop the lid on these. Get all that extra water out there. We'll turn this guy off because we are done with him. All right, so pull all the steaks out. And I have a rack right here, you guys. Oh, here, I'll hold it up. So this is what I'm going to be putting the steaks on. We're going to pat them dry, and then we're going to throw them under that broiler. And we will be ready to go. All right, so there's our steaks. That's off. Let's go ahead and unplug it. We'll let this cool down a little bit, and then we'll just dump it right into the sink. There we go. All right. So let's start. I want to do these in order so I remember whose is whose. All right, got me. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these bags open and grab my tongs. These steaks are going to be rather warm. And as you can see, they look pretty anemic, but they are perfectly done. And then we'll go here. And I'm pulling these out in the order that I cook them. And I'm putting them left and right on the tray, so that way when I put it into the oven, the broiler, I don't get confused as to which one's which. Man, I smell incredible. Alright, let's get these back out of the way. Actually, before I throw them in the trash, I'm gonna do this little bit of juice that's in there. There we go. Alright, let's get these out of the way. Alright. So, we're going to finish getting these all cut open. You can tell this is more of a medium rare. It's not quite as anemic as the other ones are. Get these all positioned on here so I can get all four of them in the oven at the same time. And of course I put down aluminum foil underneath. Helps with clean that. Alright. Last thing. Oh, there you go. Alright. I don't want to wipe any of the seasonings off, so I'm just going to do a nice, good patting. We want these to be really, really dry. If you want a good sear on your steak, make sure that it's dry. Don't mind the cat in the background. Gary, get down. I'm going to cook you next. Just patting these dry, and if you guys, I don't know if you can see the finer details, there's still a good bit of pepper on there, and of course the salt and the garlic powder are, you know, fully integrated into these steaks. Let's go ahead and flip them over. That way we don't have to deal with drying steaks after we've already seared off one side. There we go. All right. There we go, nice and dry. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'll bring the potato casserole over here, and we'll get the cheese on it, and then we'll throw them all in the broiler. I'm gonna put an ample amount, that is a measurement, an ample amount of cheese on here. So as this cheese kind of melts and crusts up and stuff like that, it'll just be delicious. All right, a little bit more in here. All right, so there we go, and kind of make sure that we got it all covered. I would use my fingers here, but I just picked up the cat, so don't want any cat hair in our potato casserole. All right, so casserole's ready to go, steaks are ready to go. It is not going to take long to finish these off. So I've got my tongs ready, I've got oven mitts ready and stuff like that, so I can pull them out, flip them over, do the other side, pull the casserole out as soon as that cheese is ready to go. Let's get to it.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
All right, guys, so here they are. I like a little bit more browning, a little bit more crust on my steaks. Problem is the broiler isn't giving me, as you can see, this piece of steak is actually higher up than this piece was, but there's definitely hot spots in this oven. So the next time I do steaks like this sous vide, I'm definitely going to use something like a cooking torch or something like that, so I can get more browning on each steak and I can focus on each one individually. But these are definitely done. They're going to be delicious. And matter of fact, let me go ahead and grab mine. Let me grab a plate real quick here. All right, guys, so here we are, my steak. I'm gonna go ahead and cut right into this thing. Oh man, it cuts so nice. Let me show you here. As you can see, because we didn't get good browning, we're not seeing a good crust on here, but as you can tell, this steak is perfectly, it's actually a little bit more medium than medium rare, but it looks wonderful. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's give it a try here. Let me tilt this back up. There, now you guys can see me. All right, bon appetit. That's a delicious steak. Well, okay, it's a good steak. I think that if I could get a little bit more browning on the top, it would be a fantastic steak. If I ordered this from a restaurant, I would be perfectly okay. It's got a little bit of a bite to it, but it's very, very tasty, very kind of melty in your mouth. I mean, this is. And matter of fact, if we cut this piece off here. So right there you can see it is medium rare. It just so happened that right where I cut, it's a little bit more medium, but that right in there is very, very medium rare. So I'm hoping you guys can see this. So that is going to wrap it up for this video. If you guys have any questions about sous vide or cooking or anything like that, let me know down in the comment section below. And I hope you guys enjoy. It's been a lot of fun making this video, but you know what? I've got starving people here. One of them just drove like over 2,000 miles to get here. So I'm gonna make sure he gets fed. You guys all take care, and until next time, this is Draco Invictus saying this has been the greatest day in my life. See ya.